Hello everyone, this is Overlord 21 and I am presenting a slightly different Godzilla Save the Earth video today. As I'm going to show you just like a little tutorial of all the buttons and what they do. For starters, you have you have multiple ways of attacking, but there are 3 buttons for your physical moves. You have Punch, which will be X on the controller for the PlayStation 2. Kick, which is square on the PlayStation 2 controller, and then Special, which is circle on the PlayStation controller. But yeah, and then what you can also do is there is specific attacks for when you input in a direction. So I'm pressing down, for example, I press down punch at the same time, and that gives me a different input, a different move entirely from this. As you can see here. The same also applies for back, forward, and up. Each monster has all different moves and properties, which I'll explain in other videos later down the road, but I want to keep this as simple as possible. But you might be wondering, what can I do against these attacks if my opponent attacks me sooner than I do? Well, you have a couple options against that as well. You can either hold block, which on the PlayStation 2 thing that I'm running is triangle, but it'd be the Y button on the Xbox controller. And depending on what move your opponent is using, you can also jump over it, which you press R2, which is a trigger. It's a trigger on a lot of controllers. You can jump out of the way, like this, for example. See the guy again? He's jumping over my attack. It's a move that would hit him normally, but he's able to jump over it so it doesn't hit him. And the interesting thing about jumping is that it isn't just a jump. If you're holding L2, which is the left trigger in my case, you can run around in circles. Well, not in circles, but you can run around. And you can also do a hop, which is this. Hopping is very useful for a lot of monsters because it helps you get out of certain situations, it helps you get away from get-up attacks, and that sort of thing. Another input that I'm going to show you right now, because I have Rage, is if you press A and B at the same time, which is if you press cross, X, and circle at the same time, you activate a Rage attack. Every monster has their own different rage attack. Godzilla 2000 is probably one of the more underwhelming attacks, but it's still a solid option. I like using it as like a finisher, so I can finish getting big damage off on my opponents. But anyway, jump attacks. There's 3 different moves you can use out of a jump. You can kick, punch, or special. Each with their own different attributes, attacks, etc., etc. Yeah. You also notice that whenever your opponent knocks you on the ground, you are in a get down state. Now you can either roll, get up attack, or there's actually another button you can press. I'll show this right here, right now. There is a armor get-up attack. Not an armor get-up attack, but there's an armor button. Let's try that. But basically what you do whenever you get up is you press the Y button instead of just the normal A button. This will let you armor through attacks. Well, not armor, but it will basically make it to where the enemy can't hurt you in that state. The biggest problem with that state is the enemy can still grab you, which leads to another thing. Here is the grab button. For me, it's set up for left bumper, but on the PS2 controller, it is L1. This is a very useful button, because if your opponent is guarding attacks the whole time, it's kind of hard to do any reasonable damage. So what you can do is you can grab them, and then punish them with either a normal throw, which what you do You can just grab and then press punch. There's also grab kick. Now every monster has their own unique animation for this. And even potential combos from it, depending on who you're using. And also grab special. Now the only monster in the game that does not have the whole special grabs is Mogira. He just only has normal throw, which makes sense. But pretty much every monster has a different throw, a different kick, a different punch, and that kind of thing. And there's also one other important thing to mention about the monsters. You have beam attacks. You have tap beam attacks and then charge ones. Charge ones, you just hold down on R1, which for me is the right bumper, and it charges up for a fairly decently damaging beam against most monsters, especially if they're not blocking. Another button you can press is if you tap R1, it activates a secondary breath function. Now for some monsters, that is crucial, like Destroya for example. Destroya absolutely makes great use of tapping R1. It's ridiculous with him. But for like Gigan for example, it's his shotgun. For Godzilla, it's his atomic fireball. Lets him do good damage as well as being a quick option. Yeah. Let's see. So you hit me with that. But yeah, if you press X or special, well, not X. If you press kick or special, you'll have a get up attack. And depending on the position of your monster, you'll do a different get up attack. It's entirely positional, which is funky, but yeah. Yeah, that's the overall simple tutorial of all the buttons, what they do, with a character that I consider great overall.
Time!
Godzilla
Nice.
2001.
Winner!
Now, here's one more thing before I call it
Monsters,
good here.
Fight!
Not every monster has this, but if you press the L2 and R2 at the same time, you can get, let's see. If you press L and R at the same time, there's certain monsters, like Gigan here for example, that have different moves. Like Gigan's in this case, is a teleport. Very useful move. But yeah, most monsters have their L plus R abilities, it's just the Godzillas don't. Like, which is fine for Godzilla, because, like, he doesn't really care that much. Sure, it kind of sucks he doesn't have his own thing there, but he's a pretty good character, doesn't really need any of that stuff. Anyway, that should be all on the tutorial. If there's anything I missed, just let me know in the comments section. You all have a wonderful day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you around in the next video. You have a wonderful day. Peace!